Gyepi, my citizen bands, I'm finally back. I did have to take this 2-week break. I will explain later the reasons, but it was supposed to be 1 week only. But some unexpected things did happen, so I had to take care of them. So this time we are going to play the elevator game with Catgirls Meow 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 for the first time. Thank you to Nobred Studio for offering the key in exchange for this coverage. Here goes nothing. New game. Disclaimer: this is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents are either the products of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Content warning: this game contains content that may not be appropriate for all ages. Some situations depicted might be disturbing or triggering. Player discretion is advised. What did I say last time about changing the game genres next time? Oops! Psychological horror it is again. Hint: there are timed choices in the game. They are recommended for a more immersive experience, but if you'd prefer to play without them, you can turn them on/off from the settings menu. Oh, a nice perk it is. It's a cold winter night. Snow started to fall a couple of hours ago, so the cityscape is littered with a layer of white fluff. It crunches under our feet as we walk down the street.
Ta-da! We're here!
Oh, so it's voiced. Reminds me of my babushka's neighborhood, honestly. I look up to inspect the tall building before us. It's past midnight, so it's to be expected that most people living here will be asleep by now. Naturally, that also explains why barely any of the windows show any hints of light coming from the inside. Considering why we're here, it only adds to the creepiness of the situation. I've never been a fan of dark places. That didn't change even when I got my feline features. What? So she didn't have them before? You think that being able to see so much more clearly in the dark would make darkness less scary, wouldn't you? Trouble is, I hear so many little sounds that I couldn't make out before too. And since I'm not sure what all of them are, the dark's every bit as creepy as it was before. Maybe even more so. I'm already engrossed in it. Oh, she's so cute. And a god friend.
So we are. Finally! A response! I thought you were starting to give me the silent treatment again.
It's a fault of mine, and one I'm not too proud of. I tend to get lost in my own head sometimes. Well, quite often really. Thankfully, Kirin is fairly used to it by now.
I swear, Kieran, of all the buildings in the city, you just had to choose one which seems super creepy. This has to be the sole residential building in the whole office district.
So the god girl is scared.
Oh, but you know it couldn't have just been any building. This one is perfect. And by perfect, you mean meeting the conditions and being less than 10 miles away from our homes. Or are you enjoying our walk in the snow together so much that you'd like to prowl around aimlessly for another hour? Because I don't know about you, but I'm really starting to feel the cold.
I really love the art style and how the character sprites seem to be like put out of the paper.
Was that your plan? So I'd need you to warm me up afterwards? You could have said something, Asahi.
Wooey. I just stare at her, not really sure what to say. There's no winning with Kirin when she gets all sly like this. As much as I hate to admit it, it's one of the things I actually like about her.
Oh, why did I sign up for this again?
Because you love me.
Ah, yes. Thank you for reminding me of that questionable fact. Say, do you get the feeling like someone is manipulating someone else for their advantage over here? No? Just me?
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. You know I'm happy you decided to come with me. I'll make it up to you. I promise.
I won't read through the voiced dialogues, as I do not find any point in repeating them and I really like the voice acting over here. I stare at her for a moment longer before I sigh. I really can't argue with her, not when she's looking at me like that. I had a silent crush on this girl, for the longest time, gossip, and never expected to one day find out that the attraction was mutual. The fact that we managed to actually get together still feels unreal sometimes. So I'm playing as the actual god girlfriend here. If it weren't for the fact that the change affected her too, it would probably have never come to this. As much as I disliked it in the beginning, it made me feel like an outcast among my former peers. After all, our shared experience allowed me to be there for her when she needed it most. It's a memory I'm always going to cherish, of that I'm sure. Yes, I know, it's a pretty twisted sort of memory to cherish. But how could I not remember it fondly when it brought us together? I breathed warmly on my hands, rubbed them together, and then jammed them deep in my pockets. It's not much, but hopefully it will help keep some feeling in my fingertips. It's enough to let me focus on things in the here and now, at least rather than just on how cold it is.
I said it before, and I'll say it again. You get provoked way too easily. You're doing all of this because of the bet with Sapporo, aren't you?
And who is this
sure,
Sapporo
that's
now?
one of the reasons. But that's not the only one. I'm doing it because it's fun.
Fun? Kieran, you've seen the forums. Not a single person out there ever said it was a good idea.
Yes, all those fairy tale stories. Quite tragic, really.
I really love the contrast between these two girls, like the one that looks dark is actually cautious and the other one that looks more on the fluffy side is willing to see the creepy
Come on,
stuff.
You're not about to tell me you honestly believe those.
So you mean that you don't?
Seriously, girl. We live in the real world. Spooky, scary skeletons don't just pop out of nowhere because someone decided to be an idiot and press some buttons in a certain way.
I can't believe you, of all people, are still saying that strange, unexplained things don't happen. I mean, you did look in the mirror this morning, right?
This is this, and that is that.
So you don't believe this will actually work. Remind me why we're here again?
We are here to prove a point. Namely, that Sapporo can suck it.
I honestly can't believe I let you drag me into this.
Chill, Asahi. We suffer the cold for a while longer, nothing happens, and then Sapporo owes me $50. $50 that will treat us to a nice dinner together.
I suppose dinner with you is a pretty good incentive.
See? I knew you'd come around.
They're so cute.
That being said, wish me luck and all that jazz. I'll be right back.
Oh no, separating?
Kieran?
What? I'm the one who should be getting cold feet here, not you.
Just, you remember all the rules, right? Stay safe, okay?
Asa-chan, be realistic about this. What's an elevator gonna do? Bite me?
I kinda got enough of elevators within her word game already. But here we are again.
You could always get stuck. That's a realistic possibility, if anything.
I'm sure you'll figure it out if I do. Now, Be sure to stay away from the building, since we'd be breaking those majestic rules otherwise.
Right.
See ya in a bit.
The atmosphere here is quite creepy, but at the same time very lively thanks to the dialogues. Very nice. As Kieran approaches the building's entrance, presses one of the intercom buttons and moments later pushes the door open. How does she convince people to trust her so quickly, to let her into the building like that? She's gone from my side before I know it, a faint click as the door closes behind her. There's a feeling of unease pulling in my stomach. All of this being a bad idea. Probably the worst we've had yet. Just screams in my head. I'm so going to give Sapporo a piece of my own mind once all of this is over. It's not like I can really do much about it now, however. If I were to go after my girlfriend saying I've suddenly changed my mind, it would undoubtedly make her angry. My girlfriend, it still makes me all giddy just to think of her that way. But how we snuck out of our houses through the window without our parents knowing just to go through with all of this? If I had a problem with this whole crazy idea, I should have said something way earlier. It's too late now. I wrap my fingers around my phone and pull it from my pocket. As I do so, I see the screen shows 0013. It took us around an hour to walk here, and while I dreaded us even behind being here in the first place, I'm also not looking forward to walking all the way back, especially when it's bound to get colder as the night goes on. Perhaps we could use those $50 to get a ride home instead of a meal? Yeah, if only things worked that way. With another sigh, I turn away and start to walk towards a small park located in the middle of this godforsaken district. I don't know why part of it is a playground. There can't be many kids here in the day, can there? But it is, and there's a slide as well as a pair of swings. I'll most likely freeze my butt off if I sit on one, so that will let me lift my feet off the ground for a bit, the cold, snowy ground. I decide to sit down on the nearest one. And just like that, the uneasy feeling of having entered a... what was it Kieran called it? A liminal space? She's so good with words sometimes, one of those places that feels a bit wrong. The feeling hits me anyway, making the hairs at the back of my neck stand up. Your mind usually associates playgrounds with children, laughter, movement and life in general. It's what they're designed for, after all. So when we get to experience the total opposite of that, when you find yourself sitting in an empty, childless playground in the middle of the night, it doesn't feel right. Your mind associates it with something being off, something being wrong. Why are you here, Asahi, in a place you shouldn't be? Not a jump scare, please. Not a jump scare. Absent-mindedly, my gaze wanders. Something at the other side of the street catches my attention. It's a vending machine. I happen to have a bit of change with me, and the idea of getting something hot to drink is suddenly a very alluring temptation. It would undoubtedly make the waiting out in this cold less unpleasant. Please say it's a machine that has hot drinks as well as cold ones. With my mind made up, I get back to my feet, checking the time more out of habit than actual curiosity again. 0014. Only a minute passed since Kieran disappeared into the building, and I'm both surprised and not really. The feeling of time passing slower than usual is normal when you obsessively wait for something, even more so when said waiting is physically uncomfortable. True. I make my way towards the vending machine without a second thought. I really love the immersion in this game, it's amazing. To my relief, its glowing buttons do indeed hold the promise of a hot drink, yay! Cocoa. I'm usually more of a coffee person, but I'm in the mood for something sweet. My mind will most likely appreciate the sugar rush right now too. It definitely doesn't have anything to do with the fact that this is Kieran's favorite drink. Tsundere. Wafwa choco choco. Cute. Yeah, it's about time I acknowledge the fact that I've started to consume more sweet stuff because of her. Even though she says I'm sweet enough as I am. It's only when there's a clank of coins in the change slot that I realize the cocoa is a bit cheaper than the coffee, meaning that I'll be able to get a can for Kieran when she comes out too. That's a nice surprise. As I work on opening the bottle, I realize how warm and heavenly it feels in my hands. I wrap my hands around it, enjoying a few moments of bliss as the heat warms my fingers. I take a small sip, instantly happy with the taste. Being able to drink anything warm feels like a godsend right now. Satisfied, at least momentarily, I make my way back to the playground, intending to sit back at the spot I took up before. I reach the swing and settle back down, as I glance up again at the building Kieran slipped into minutes ago. My blood suddenly runs cold. A sense of sudden panic swarms my mind as I try to make sense of what I'm seeing. A building that's dead to the world, all pitch black, with none of its lights shining through the windows anymore. Could all the residents have gone to sleep in the meantime? That's close to impossible, and I know it. A power outage, maybe. I quickly turn around and look at the other buildings around me. All of those seem the same as when we arrived, with a bright window still present here and there, so surely that can be it. If the power was cut off, it would affect the whole street, wouldn't it? Or even several streets. Almost spilling my drink, I hastily reach for the phone in my pocket. What? 13 again? I blinked and closed my eyes shut for a moment, certain that something's wrong with my eyesight. The time couldn't have just gone backwards. A small sense of relief floods me as I quickly open my eyes again. It must have been a trick of the light before, or perhaps there was a glitch with my phone's display. Not a glitch with the windows though. Perhaps there is something wrong with me. Remembering what made me reach for my phone in the first place, I raised my head to look at the building before me once more. Only to see it in its previous state, the lights are back on as if they were never going to begin with. The unease in my stomach stays, though I know what I saw. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have just imagined it. It's been 5 minutes since Kieran went into the building. Is that enough to ride through a bunch of floors? Would she be mad if I called her so soon? Dwelling on it suddenly feels stupid. I open up the calls app on my phone and there's her name at the top of the history. She'd called me just a couple of hours ago to confirm our plans for tonight. Admittedly, her name is also there for the call before that, and the one before, and... Okay, I chat to her a lot, so one more call now can't hurt, right? I hit the redial button. I should have expected the call wouldn't connect. If she's still inside the elevator, there probably isn't any reception in there, is there? So what options does that leave me with? Going in after her? Waiting for another 5 minutes? I stare at the building before me intently, afraid to avert my eyes anymore. It's like I'm hopeful my gaze, my constant observation, alone will make the light stay. I'm scared of the situation repeating itself. Sometime later, I realize that I've spent so long just holding my can and fretting about Kirin that my drink has gone from a nice hot drink to, well, undrinkable. Some drinks are not meant to be just kinda warm, and this is one of them. At least it kept my hands from freezing, I guess. 10 minutes pass, I feel only more cold and helpless. Why can't Kieran just come out of the building now, as if nothing had happened, and laugh at me for worrying too much? I call her again for good measure. Surprisingly, the call does go through this time. Hello?
Hello?
What's going on? I'm not prepared for what I hear. A woman laughing at the other end. There's something about it that disturbs me to the very core. It's definitely not Kieran's voice, or is it? All of a sudden, realization hits me. Sapporo, the bed, everything, now this. None of it could possibly be real. All of this has to be a prank arranged by my classmates. And whether Kieran's in on it? She wouldn't do this to me, would she? The image of her wickedly smiling, amused face persistently pops up in my mind again. Confusion turns into anger. Before I know it, I'm on my feet, already marching to the building, determination boiling inside of me. There's an obstacle before I can get into, as I obviously don't have a key to the entrance door. What kind of excuse would be plausible at this sort of hour? I stab at the button that I think Kieran pressed and then almost immediately regret it. What if I pressed the wrong button? What if I pressed the right one and sound stupid when the other person asks who's there? What if... To my surprise, there's a click from the intercom and then a buzz as I'm let in without a single word being spoken. So Kieran didn't have to sweet-talk anyone. I try not to dwell on the unexpected invitation as I shrug it all off on luck. As soon as the door closed behind me, it occurs to me just how dark the inside of the building is. I know it's the middle of the night, but I'm not sure whether such a complete lack of light is normal. People live here after all, there should be some signs of life. Buildings usually have at least a few lights on the inside, don't they? It's unsettling, although it doesn't make me as nervous as it used to. I know that my vision is going to adjust to the darkness in a moment, letting me navigate the place easily. I'm able to see a lot better in the dark compared to when I was still completely human, but it doesn't work instantly. As I take a first few hesitant steps into the building, the lights flicker on with a harsh buzz. Of course, I'm being such an idiot. There are automatic lights in here. They come on when people move, totally ordinary. It's just that I've never been in this building before. It stands to reason that it feels unusually creepy to me, right? Especially if I think about why I'm currently here. Lost and found. All that considered, it feels like it takes longer for me to reach the end of the long hallway than it probably should. It's a dangerous time to let your mind wander into places nobody sane would want it wandering to. At least the building inside is noticeably warmer than the outdoors. It makes the whole situation slightly easier to bear. My hands and feet almost started to freeze off out there. The next thing I know, I stand before the elevator door, rooted to the ground, with a sudden sensation of someone watching me. Look behind! Abruptly, I turn around, more panic exploding inside of me as the automated light picks that exact moment to cut out. My first instinct is to get my phone out, let it illuminate the sudden darkness of the corridor, and the bastard knows what else is inhabiting it currently. There's nothing that I'm able to see anyway, it's just the empty corridor, a row of closed doors along each side, exactly the same as when I first entered it. There's nobody there. I don't feel any less on edge when I turn back in the other direction, bearing my back to all of that space again, pressing the elevator button as quickly as I can find it. A distant sound of machinery starting up pierces the unnerving silence, followed by a hum which indicates that the elevator is in motion. It's clearly on a different floor, so I wait for it to descend. Taking a deep breath, I try to calm myself. It feels like an eternity drags by as I wait for the thing to arrive. The doors finally slide apart with a slight scraping sound, and the small compartment finally opens up before me, completely empty. I'm not sure whether I should be surprised or not. A part of me hoped it wouldn't have come to this, while another already expected for things to turn out this way. At this point I decide to do the only sensible thing I can think of doing. Get into the elevator, ascend to the highest floor, then make my way down the stairs. All in the hope of stumbling upon Kieran, possibly hiding from me on one of the floors. I don't manage to find her, however. I check every single floor as I proceeded downwards, but I don't see Kieran anywhere. 148. Find her again is to no avail. Kiri, where are you? This isn't funny anymore. I sent her a text message feeling distraught and tired. She usually replies to me pretty quickly, but the seconds and then minutes tick by without any reply. I had a second message. Seriously, I'm tired and cold, I'm going home. I'm convinced that she's trying to prank me at this point. I mean, that's the logical thing to assume, right? Karen said she didn't believe any of this ritual mambo-jumbo would work. She probably snuck out of the building the moment I got on the elevator. Perhaps it's her presence that I felt back in the corridor before. 2:23. It's not an easy choice to make, but I eventually decide to leave and head back home by myself. Karen doesn't arrive at class the next day. I get a call from her parents during one of the breaks, asking me if I know anything about their daughter's whereabouts. I apparently woke up to find her missing from her room, and she hasn't answered their calls either. Oh my goodness. I lie about not knowing anything.
You mean to say Kirin went missing?
Oh, so this is Sapporo?
Are you sure this isn't just another one of her stupid pranks?
I don't know.
Well, I probably know less than you do. Last time I talked to her, it was yesterday, when we made the bet. Are you going to look for her?
Why? Are you planning to come along?
Nah, I'm too scared of ghosts.
Encounter with Sapporo comes next, and it's not an outcome I'm satisfied with. Our mutual friends claim they have no idea what happened to Kieran either. When the case gets reported to the police the next day, I actually start to believe them. Things are going way too far for a mere prank. Kieran, where the hell are you? Surely the elevator ritual wouldn't have actually worked. I find myself standing once again in the lobby of that cursed building late at night. I'm honestly not eager to find out whether this whole elevator game actually works or not. The idea that it might not be just something completely made up chills me to my kitty bones. But any rational thought is an afterthought at this point. Two things have driven me into this madness. One of them being the need to find Kirin, obviously. The second is me feeling like I'm partially responsible for her disappearance. I agreed to this. It was her idea, but I joined her on it. I didn't stop this whole foolish thing. We were both so utterly ignorant. If the ritual indeed worked, Kirin could have ended up stuck somewhere. For all I know, I might be currently the only person who can actually help her. I have to do that before it's too late.
Deep breath, Sasai.
With a shaky hand, I press the button to call the elevator. I've been trying to memorize all the rules for this stupid game for what feels like forever, but I don't really trust myself to remember it all once things get stressful. Supposedly this whole thing can screw with your mind in ways you wouldn't expect. Hence why I came prepared and wrote the steps down, both on my phone and on a piece of paper I had in my pocket. I also brought a backpack with some essentials with me. Food among other things. Kirin's been gone for a long time. The mouth speaks for itself. It's not just any old food eater, it's some of her favorite snacks. Summoning the catgirl with snacks? My thoughts get interrupted by the sound of doors sliding apart, revealing the small compartment before me again. Empty, just like last time. With one last glance at my phone, which is now showing 0009, I take a step into the elevator. Right, I'm here now, on the first floor. Alone, just like I'm supposed to be. It's quiet, eerily so. Not even attempting this ritual would be the smartest thing to do, honestly. Of all the things I've read about it online, and I've read a lot, I did as much research as I possibly could in the small time frame I had. I didn't find a single person that encouraged anyone to try it out for themselves. Whoever did and lived to tell the tale was terrified of the outcome. Of course, I initially assumed all of those stories were fake. Would probably still assume so, if it weren't for the weird things that have been happening around the world lately. Kirin's unexplained disappearance on top of them all. Taking a deep breath, I turn to stare at the button panel before me. But before I decide to do anything further, I want to go over the rules in my mind one last time. From beginning to end, just to make absolutely sure I remember them all. Elevator to another world. That's the name of the game. Only one person can play it at a time. The ritual needs to be performed in a building that's at least 10 stories high, and it has to have at least one elevator in it. All three of these conditions need to be met, otherwise you cannot proceed. As for the instructions themselves, recall them in detail. Instructions for the way there. 1. In your chosen building, get into the elevator on the first floor by yourself. If anyone else is in or gets on the elevator with you, do not proceed. That's simple enough and already done. Then there's an order to the buttons I should press, which is straightforward enough. 2. Press the button for the 4th floor. When the elevator reaches the 4th floor, do not get out. Stay in the elevator and press the button for the 2nd floor, too. When the elevator reaches the 2nd floor, don't get out, stay in the elevator and press the button for the 6th floor. When the elevator reaches the 6th floor, don't get out, stay in the elevator and press the button for the 2nd floor again. When the elevator reaches the 2nd floor, do not get out, stay in the elevator and press the button for the 10th floor. Some have reported hearing a voice calling to them during this point of the ritual. You're not supposed to reply, you're not supposed to answer in any way. When the elevator reaches the 10th floor, do not get out, stay in the elevator, and press the button for the 5th floor. Now, here's the tricky part. Some people have reported that a woman might enter the elevator on this floor. She may appear as a stranger who wishes to engage with you. However, she may also appear as someone you know. It's important not to acknowledge her in any way. No talking, no looking. If the elevator is reflective, you're supposed to stare at the floor or buttons only. Thankfully, there are no mirrors in this one. Press the button for the first floor. Now two things can happen. It's important to pay attention. If the elevator starts to ascend to the 10th floor instead of first, it means that the ritual has worked. If it starts descending to the first floor, like instructed by the button instead, it means something has been done wrong and the ritual has failed. In this case, you should get out of the elevator on that floor immediately. If the woman is there, you should remember not to acknowledge her. If you reach the 10th floor, you can choose to leave or stay on the elevator. Some have reported that if you attempt to leave, the woman may try to engage with you one last time. She might raise her voice, shriek at you, or ask you a simple question. Keep your wits about you and do not engage with her, even out of fear. There is only one way to know whether you have reached the other world for sure. You will know because you will be the only person there. I'm not sure what to make of that last part, considering why I decided to play this game in the first place. If I am to find Kirin, does that mean I can't reach the other world the right way? Either way, I simplified these rules and saved them on my phone, in case I needed a reminder. Phone? Oh, there is some more information, I think. Once on floor 1, be sure nothing looks, feels, sounds, smells out of the ordinary. You may need to repeat step 2 until everything on floor 1 finally seems normal. You can exit the elevator. Some have described the other world as dark, but otherwise exactly like your home world. There may be a red cross in the sky. Electronics often do not work on the other side. You may be disoriented or dizzy as you exit on floor 10. Pay attention to how you're feeling and keep your wits about you. If you pass out and wake up at home, it might not be your home world or even not the other world you were intending to travel to. Examine everything to make sure nothing is out of the ordinary. If you enter the wrong elevator on your way back, the button sequence will not work. What am I supposed to do now? People have reported that playing the elevator game might mess with your head, make you forget things or make you feel disoriented, so I'm not about to take any chances. I have it all on a piece of paper in my pocket too. I've watched too many movies to be foolish enough to put all my trust in something that can break. Okay. What am I supposed to do? Okay. As I put away my phone and notes after double checking the rules, a chilling realization hits me. The floor I'm on, according to the elevator, isn't the first floor. What the hell? It's floor 0. Needless to say, this places me in a predicament before I've even really started. I just assume the game means the ground floor by referring to the first floor, or is that assumption wrong and I should consider floor O as being the wrong floor? What would Curie have assumed for that matter? Would she even have noticed this detail to begin with? Re-enter the building. Don't want to be taking any chances. It's better to leave the building altogether than re-enter the elevator from the first floor. Just to be on the safe side, I make my way towards the playground. That should be enough distance between myself and the building to reset the game, right? My phone's display is now showing 0017. It's probably good to wait for another minute for a good measure. Oh. I'm about to make my way back to the building entrance with the intention of pressing one of the intercom buttons when I suddenly notice someone walking down the street. Not to draw attention to myself, I hunch down my shoulders and remain frozen in place, listening to the footsteps that keep getting louder and louder. The person makes his way past me, and for a moment I feel relief before I realize he's heading towards the same building entrance I was about to head back to. Perhaps he lives there? He pressed the intercom buttons a couple of times, although I can't quite see which. Clearly knows what he's doing, however, as the sound of the door opening reaches my ears shortly after. Wanting to use the opportunity, I quickly dash forward with the intention of catching the door before it closes after the stranger.
Thank you.
Oh, do you live here?
He just had to go ahead and make small talk.
No, I came to visit a friend.
A friend? Is that so? Must be a very important friend when you come to visit them so late at night.
Please just go. Please just go.
Have we met before?
Definitely not. I need to go now.
Ah, yes. Sorry. Don't mind me. Just be sure to take the stairs. The elevator's been malfunctioning a lot lately.
I wait for the stranger to go into the building. I watch him intently as he makes his way towards one of the hallways. All things considered, he seemed like a decent guy, but for all I know, he might be some kind of creep. And besides, I can't enter the building with other people if I want to follow the rules. I climb the stairs, making sure that I enter the elevator from the first floor this time around. Right, let's give this another try. I'm on floor 1, hopefully the right one. Floor 4 is next. For speed, you can choose to skip through the elevator animations, for example by holding the Ctrl key down. We recommend not skipping for proper immersion, but it's your choice how you prefer to play. Whichever playstyle you choose, you're still required to press the panel buttons in order to advance yourself, of course. Yeah, bye. Okay. Floor 4, then it's floor 2, then floor 6. Or... What was the third light? Floor 6. This is getting creepy. I'm pretty sure I will see someone soon. The moment I reached the second floor for the second time, I immediately noticed a change in the atmosphere. The feeling that something is very, very wrong hits me like a truck, making the hair at the back of my neck stand up. What is this? I can check off the overwhelming sensation that I should get out of the elevator right now. I can quit explain it, but if I wasn't completely freaking out before, now it's very hard to not do so. It's almost like standing on rail tracks while a train comes straight at you at full speed. You know you have to move if you don't want to get run over. You know you have to move if you don't want to be turned to a wet fleshy smear along the tracks. If I don't move, I'm going to die. This lack of air that snaps me out of my stupor. I realize I've been holding my breath ever since the elevator stopped. I breathe in, only to be greeted by a full smell. It sounds like rotting fish mixed in with something I can't even name. I'm certain I didn't smell anything like this when I was here before. Floor 10 should be next. Check. Ah. Ten, then 5, then 1. We're almost done. Please hold me, cinnamon buns. I'm scared. Who is there? Who is there? Who is over there? No one? A jump scare, perhaps? When the door finally opens on the 10th floor, it's like a breath of fresh air after what feels like minutes of being stuck in a closed can. I notice that the full smell is suddenly gone. Next is floor 5. Ah! It's going up! It's going up! I'm pretty sure I pressed the button for the 5th floor. That's what the rules instruct the player to do after all. Wait. Right. So why? This is not where the elevator was supposed to go. Not to mention this is still a 10-story high building, isn't it? Getting to the 13th floor is obviously impossible, it shouldn't even exist. I need to stay calm. Even if I'm unnerved by the fact that the elevator door doesn't open up when it supposedly arrives on the floor in question. Did I think levitate out of the building somehow? That's crazy. It's obviously some kind of mistake. Perhaps the elevator panel is malfunctioning. As the man from before did say, maybe I'm on the 5th floor right now, just like intended. There are no instructions for such a scenario taking place in the rules, so I guess I'm left to my own devices and better judgment. Does this mean the ritual failed since this happened? Does this mean something else entirely? If I had to think of any plausible options on what to do next. Press F1 about the current session, press the button for opening up the door, press F5 again. F1. Doesn't seem to work. Press F5 again. I press the button for floor 5 again, but it doesn't seem to work. It wants me to open the door. With neither of the other options working, I press the button for opening up the door. Oh my goodness. I seem to be greeted by a floor at least, so the elevator hasn't levitated out of the building after all, probably. What are the odds that I've managed to get the other word already, and now the building somehow has more floors? It seems like a crazy idea, but everything about this has been crazy enough to begin with. Who knows what to actually expect? I know I shouldn't leave the elevator at any cost, but... No. I noticed something standing out in the corridor before me pretty close to the door. If I try hard enough, I'm pretty sure I could reach it without stepping out. Don't do that. No, 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 no. Can't I stay in? Can't I just stay here? I don't want to interact with that. I don't want to do this. Okay. I get on my knees, careful not to lift the compartment, and I reach out for the piece of paper that's lying on the ground. April 14th. Now we're letting those abominations into our school. Great, just what we needed. One of them looks sorts of cute. I wonder what she'd sound like when we set her clothes on fire. The date on this thing, there's no year, but if it's from the current one, it could be from a couple of months ago. Wait, isn't it from the day I transferred? Oh my. What the hell? I get snapped away from my thoughts with the elevator door suddenly closing. Before I can even think about what to possibly do next, the small compartment is put into motion without any input. Without my input. Where is it going? To the 5th floor? I can shake off the weird feeling that something was waiting for me to pick up that note before letting me proceed further. Did some greater force guide me? Was I being watched? The idea is absurd, and yet... What's going on? The elevator seems to have descended back to the 5th floor, just like I prompted for it to do last time before I got taken to a floor that wasn't even supposed to exist. Does this mean that the ritual is still going according to the rules? I honestly don't know. The rules mention that there might be some kind of woman getting into the elevator at this point in the game, but I can't see anybody. Just shut up, I don't want to see her, don't mention her, there is no one. No, another one. There's just something distinct that stands out next to the elevator door again. I could probably reach it without having to step outside just like last time. Of course, unless the woman does pull you out. I keep finding these notes, they seem like secondary entries at first, but none of it makes sense at this point. Could it be that this place somehow captures your thoughts and turns them into these things? Could somebody be finding mine too? Seems like it's another one of those notes, but this one's different than the one I found earlier. The writing has a different shape, and the paper itself has a different tint to it. Is it safe to assume that this isn't the same person's? First floor. Oh, why is it going by itself? What's going on? Not taking any chances, I take the silent invitation to leave without a second thought. I run out of the building as fast as my legs allow me to. Are we in the real world, I wonder? What the hell was that? The rules say I should leave the building immediately if the elevator descends back to the first floor instead of the 10th. So I did just that. Am I safe now? Does this mean the game is reset and I can attempt it anew once I go back to the elevator right now? Why do these rules have to be so vague? Ugh. I checked my phone for good measure, curious about the time. It seems like a couple of minutes have passed since I got into the elevator. Nothing out of the ordinary then. Even if it feels like I was trapped in there for hours instead. Deciding to take a short break, I get something hot from the vending machine. Coffee should be good for keeping me on my toes, even if adrenaline is currently doing the job pretty well. I made sure to bring more change with me this time around. Choco milk. I reached to take out my canned coffee, only to notice there's a bottle of chocolate milk instead. Did the machine malfunction, or did someone buy it before me and then just leave it here? Unless we're in another world that is out of the ordinary. It must be a malfunction. I did put money in, and I did hear it doing vending machine things. On further inspection, the factory seal is still intact, so it's definitely not someone else half-finished drink. I'm still not about to drink it, but I suppose I can take it with me. Damn it though, this means I just used up my chance and got no coffee in return. Stupid machine. Ow. Frustrated, I head back to the building entrance, hitting one of the intercom buttons. I try to make sense of what I experienced in the elevator, but I'm at a loss. All in all, the sooner I can find Kirin, the sooner we'll be able to leave this place. And never come back. I'm really not in the mood to dwell on this.
Hello?
Hello? I'm shaken out of my thoughts when I suddenly hear a voice from the intercom. Oh crap, this isn't how it went last time. This wasn't supposed to happen all of a sudden.
Hello? Who's there?
What should I say? Girl Scout cookies.
Girl Scout cookies!
That excuse stopped being funny after the first stop watching so many cartoons, kid.
Well, that went well. Great going, Asahi. I just about want to curl up and die from embarrassment, but I force myself to press one of the intercom buttons again, a different one this time. I can't let this stop me. I will humiliate myself as many times as it takes. I need to get back into the building. To my surprise, I'm greeted with the sound of entry this time around. Someone simply lets me in, no questions asked, just like before. Victory! I exhale, quickly getting into the building. It still feels so jarring how eerily quiet the inside of it is compared to the outside. It's like the door of the building is a portal to another world of its own already. Gathering my thoughts, I remember the notes I found. This has to mean something. I'm determined to get to the bottom of this. I should attempt that ritual again. Maybe I did something wrong before. Clues found throughout the game can lead you to new floor combinations and different endings. Reaching an ending doesn't reset your exploration progress. All found items carry over to consecutive playthroughs. Some things around the lobby might change as you explore the game. Stay vigilant and have fun exploring the bizarre setting. I'd say that was one hell of a ride. So, coming to the reason I was absent. It doesn't really sound nice to say this with this kind of background music, so please let me switch the screen. So, I'm here to explain how come I was absent. This is not easy for me, but I will do my best. At first I was just thinking of taking a break for myself to sort some of my personal stuff, but then the unexpected thing happened, which is, remember I mentioned to you my hamster friend that recently got his teeth trimmed. So he fell sick and I had to take him to emergency suddenly. And it did not go that well. The vets did all that they could. At first he had the issue that you have with lungs when you get a really bad cold. And that actually got solved. But the thing is, he got a neurological issue after it, due to lack of oxygen. So my hammy was put under therapy and he was hospitalized for a whole week. The vets were always monitoring him and I was awaiting him patiently to return home. So one day I visited him. He was not in a good shape, he was very weak, he couldn't eat by himself, he was fed forcefully by vets. And he was always cold, not even necessarily because he was not eating by himself, but because he was weak. His body was cold, but he was all the time under a lamp that kept him warm. So when I visited him, he was kinda tiny and confused due to this neurological issue. He did have... there's this thing that rodents do have. They have a tiny head tilt, who more, who less. And my hamster, Bear, was presenting a head tilt, and also the neurological issue did make him disoriented because he was supposed to see everything by another angle, you see, because the head was rotated. And also he was quite confused overall. It was very difficult to move. He was drained, but he tried his best. He even had a thing also due to this neurological issue that his body randomly started rolling, or he started spinning on his own self, and that was not voluntarily. This was very bothersome to him. So when I was there, I started talking to him. I made him cuddles and I told him to eat because he's a good hamster, and I believe if he tried, he would be able to eat by himself. So he started even eating. And I was there with him for like 15 minutes, I think, 20. And I kept him company while caressing his little cheeks and telling him that he is a good boy. I also noticed that he managed to force himself not to roll on his own body, instead to stay still and keep eating. It was very difficult to him. And I saw that if he was like motivated by someone external, he could maybe get better, because vets didn't know if his condition would get better, worse, if it would stay like this. They thought he could go home soon, but they didn't know if the neurological issue would remain forever for the rest of his life, or if it would be cured. And the issue is, the next day I was woken up by another phone call by the vet. As usual, I would get my update. I did force myself to get up. It was pretty early for me because I went to bed late, and the vet did say that he had a cardiac arrest and he did not make it that night. Actually, in the morning, he had to be put under oxygen, attached to it once again, like when the lung issue was there, the one that was supposed to be cured. And then when the vet was trying to feed him, my hamster didn't make it due to a cardiac arrest. The doctor did try to reanimate him, but to no avail. So this is why I did have to take more of my time. I would try to make my return quite calm and gradual, because I still have to take time to realize what happened. And meanwhile, I wanted to show my hammy to you a bit better. His name was Bear. He really loved his mushroom-shaped house. He always kept his food under it. He enjoyed to sleep over there during summer, because the shroom house kept him cool, because it was made of ceramic, so he didn't feel as hot due to weather. He also loved eating when barely awake, so he was like sleeping, then woke up, ate a seed, and I slept again. This was his face when he woke up usually, because bothered by the sunlight. I do find it quite funny. This is the picture from one time that he happened to stuff his cheeks so much, the cheeks. I got worried because the hamster do have to empty their cheeks after a while, or they can even collapse with no consciousness. So this did worry me a bit. I will always remember his tiny face and his tiny eyes. He was really a good friend to me. And this last picture is from when I had to take him to emergency, where he got hospitalized. He did sleep in my jacket to keep warmer than in the transport thingy for hummies. I'll miss him a lot. Despite being a tiny hamster, like a tiny pet, I mean, not a tiny hamster, he gave me so much. I will always remember him surely. And I'm very thankful for him being here with me for this past year and a month. So that's it for today's video. I'm sorry if I made the things a tad emotional. And I will see you next time to continue the horror adventures, the cute adventures, and all of the playthroughs that we started together. Thank you for watching me as always. And I hope you will understand that I was going through some hard time. I will see you next time. I will do my best to be here with you, to take my time, and to entertain you as better as I can. See you next time. Bye bye!